Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. Uneducated Network presents Uneducated Sports Talk, and I'm your host, Carlos Clayton. Today, we have been kind of skipping a little bit on our 32 for 32, but fret not. We actually have two teams we'll talk about. We'll discuss today the Houston Texans, and we will discuss the Seattle Seahawks. And I want to say, please, if you haven't, like and subscribe to Uneducated Network. We have a lot of things going on. My show, So You Think You Know Sports, hosted by Craig Turtle Jones. We have Gaming and Educated, hosted by Sheldon Woods. We have In the Paint with Red, hosted by Devontae Roan, aka Red. Uneducated Star Wars Talk, hosted by Christopher Lambert. And we had to kind of shut down things for a little bit because we do live in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where we got a lot of that rain, a lot of flood from Hurricane Harvey. So our system kind of got shut down a little, but we are steady going back up. So be on the lookout for next week. We'll have a bunch of shows come back. Everybody come back to do things strong. So let's get ready for that. And I know you guys are excited. Thank you for those who have subscribed to the network. Those who haven't, what are you waiting for? Like and subscribe. Do that with your boy. Uneducated Sports Talk. We have a lot of things going on. We had to cancel some of the high school games, so this Saturday we won't have any high school football talk because a lot of games got canceled because of the weather. So we will talk about that next week, so I had to apologize on that end. But Lake Charles strong, it's getting up. We're still praying for Houston. Those who live in Houston, those who have been, houses have been destroyed and cars have been destroyed. We were praying for you guys to get well and get better. Houston strong. Louisiana strong, Texas strong, all that strong. Just want to hashtag, go ahead and do all that. But we are praying for you guys. Well, speaking of Houston, let's get into it. 32 for 32, which is 32 teams in 32 days. We are talking about the Houston Texans. And we all know what's going on in Houston right now, and it's very devastating news. They actually canceled Houston's fourth preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys. Initially, they were going to bring it to AT&T Stadium, but then they scratched that and they canceled it because they wanted the Houston Texans players to go spend time with their families in Houston in their time of needs. And I thought it was very understandable. The only people I actually feel bad for are those bubble guys who didn't have a chance to showcase their skills on the field for the fourth game. That's the only guys I feel bad for. So some guys will get cut thinking that, well, we could have had a chance to show our skills in the fourth game because usually that's when it's a do or die moment. So I feel bad for those guys. It was basically for the guys who are actually playing for the Texans who have families in Houston, because a lot of those guys aren't even from Houston. They're from everywhere and just trying to make the Houston squad. So I feel bad for those guys, but hopefully they did enough in the first three games to get in for the Houston Texans. But anyways, the Texans last year went 9-7 and they won the division. Yes, that division was that bad, going 9-7 and coming in first place. They wound up beating a struggling Oakland Raiders team without Derek Carr to move on, and they actually had a chance to beat the New England Patriots. Well, a half a chance, let's say that. The first half, they played a great first half. When they were under, shotgun was Brock Osweiler, excuse me. But now Brock Osweiler has been dealt to the Cleveland Browns. Once again, they said they're done with Brock Osweiler. He has been moved again. Ironically, Cleveland's trying to get rid of Brock Osweiler as well. So that guy, hey, I don't feel bad for Brock Osweiler one bit. Here is why. The man already in the last 2 years has probably made over $30 million. $30 million. You can ship me around the world, $30 million. I can care less. So Brock Osweiler, no one's feeling bad. If you do feel bad, look, the man is making a ton of money. So don't feel bad for that. Brock Osweiler's gone. Tom Savage played the last couple games of the season, and here we go. Now you have Tom Savage as your starting quarterback, but then you go up in the draft from 25 to 12 and draft probably the best quarterback in the draft, in my opinion, in Deshaun Watson, who I thought should have been number 1 overall just based off of needs. Not number 1, but number 2 overall, excuse me, based off of needs, the Chicago Bears. But they got, I think, the best quarterback, Deshaun Watson. And either Tom Savage or Deshaun Watson is going to start. They have not officially announced the starter yet, but you do know that they are backed by this great defense. And this defense, with J.J. Watts returning now, because J.J. Watts was out the whole entire year, and they still play some damn good defense. Can you imagine these guys with J.J. Watts now? It's going to be scary. DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Miller are going to play a bigger role now, especially if you do put a Deshaun Watson who can make plays happen, who can scramble with his legs. We'll see what goes on with that. But you think that DeAndre Hopkins, they just signed him to a 5-year extension. So he's going to get paid. He's going to be in Houston for a long time. He loves it in Houston. And, I think this year is something big. I think they're going to represent for their city now because of what's going on in Houston. I think this year they have the talent, they have the team. I think they have the build to do something special this year and do it for Houston. This team has always been on the cusp. They're one of those 4 or 5 teams who just need a freaking quarterback, and they'll be okay. And they're one of those teams who could not find that quarterback. They had something to Matt Schwab 6 years ago, something like that, and he wound up becoming Mr. Pick Six at the end. He had a great career with the Texans the first, I think, 2 or 3 years with them. Then all of a sudden started throwing pick sixes to everybody like it was just the new trend or something. I think he had like 6 games or 8 games in a row with a pick six, something like that. I don't want to, that's the past, Matt. I'm sorry, that's the past. But then on defense, you get J.J. Watts, you got Jadeveon Clowney, you got Whitney Merciless, and then you got Brian Cushings as well. So you got guys who are just starving. You got Joseph as well playing cornerback. So these guys are very talented, and their front seven is amazing. They're going to keep coming at these guys. Here we go. What happened in the draft? They go up and get Deshaun Watson first round. They go from 25 to 12. What I said was a stamp. That's letting you know now he will be the starting quarterback somewhere this year, I promise you. Whether it's the first game, 4th game, 6th game, 12th game, he will be the starting quarterback, no doubt. I have a feeling he will be the starting quarterback when they make it to the playoffs. Yes, I did say playoffs. So they get Deshaun Watson, who I thought was, who's better than Mitch Trubisky. He's better than Patrick guy from Texas Tech. He's better than all those guys in my opinion. He is poised. I mean, he beat Alabama. Just saying. A lot of guys don't single-handedly beat an Nick Saban Alabama team. Just saying. And this is championship game. So back-to-back championship games, and he came up big. That lets you know the guy is a player. He's a baller, and I think he is the Michael Jordan of NFL pretty soon, to quote Dabo Sweeney. But in the second round, they get Zach Cunningham, who shouldn't have never failed to the second round. The knack on this guy, one, he gets 100 tackles every freaking year. But the knack on him is he can't wrap up. He did wrap up over 100 times, in my opinion, to get over 100 tackles, right? So that was his only problem. But they're playing at 3-4. He might play the outside or the middle. So Brian Cushing is kind of on the fringe of being in, if maybe his last hurrah in Houston. But if you get Zach Cunningham, who is fast, and if he can wrap up and be a tremendous tackle like he already is, in my opinion, they got something in Houston that can last for a long time. Houston knows what they're doing. They just don't know the quarterback. But now they finally have a future in the quarterback. We'll see what goes on, because I think Deshaun Watson is going to be special. Third pick, they had Deontay Foreman, the running back from Texas. So he basically stays in. He goes from Austin, Texas to Houston, Texas. Probably like a 2-hour flight. So I know he was very ecstatic and very happy about that. But he is a big dude who can move. I had him, if you heard my fantasy talk, I did say he will be a sleeper. I think he will have a lot of carries in the red zone. I think he'll get a lot of touchdowns in place of Lamar Miller to give him that second kind of playmaker or second running back. I think Alfred Blues kind of went down, so I think that Devontae Foreman, he did show some very good strides in preseason, so I'm very excited to see how he does for the regular season. So be on the lookout for him. And then they get Carlos Watkins in the 5th round, defensive tackle from Clemson. I thought that was a very good pick. I mean, I didn't think Carlos Watkins would slip that far. I thought maybe 4th round, but 5th round, good God. All right, well, you got a steal, Houston. Another steal. So Carlos Watkins is in there, defensive tackle of Clemson. He will be there. I don't know what big of a role this year he'll have for the Texans, but I do see him up in the future being a stud for those guys. So, look, they play in a horrible division. When you got the Colts and you got the Jaguars going in, and the Colts at one point were kind of not the favorites, but they were kind of the team that'll be all right. But now they have Andrew Luck problems. And then you have the Titans that are kind of like, up there, but their offense still doesn't scare anybody. And their defense, although defense is decent, they're not the Texans good. So that's why I think Houston is the clear-cut favorite in that division. I think they go up and move one game up from last year. So instead of 9-7, now they're 10-6. But I could easily see these guys 11-5 or 12-4. It depends on how things fit out for those guys. I can see them there. But right now I'm saying 10-6, and they still win the division because the division is just crap right now. Let's just be honest. The AFC South isn't going anywhere except for the Texans. So I think the Texans win it very easily, very comfortable. 10-6, I got them. I can see them at 11-5, and I'm so excited because this team can make a noise. Nah, with Tom Savage, nah. But if they had Deshaun Watson, which I will guarantee Deshaun Watson will be in the playoffs, being the starting quarterback. If all things go right, he will be the starting quarterback in the playoffs. And I think that him alone can take that team pretty far. This team will be the team for the future. Deshaun Watson is the future quarterback. Because he's not just a guy who can scramble. He's a guy that can scramble and pass the ball. This isn't a Michael Vick or a Robert Griffin kind of one-trick pony kind of thing. No, Deshaun Watson can throw the ball. And when he has to, he can run. I like that. I like quarterbacks who run when they have to. Not run because they want to. It's a difference. Trust me. It's a difference. That being said, I think Texans have a great year this year. So all Houston fans, we're all Houston natives. We are praying for you guys. I think the Texans will show out this year and show up this year and do some good for the city when you're talking to football pros, football-wise. Now, let's talk with the Seattle Seahawks. They're a second team for our 32 for 32. Pete Carroll is in charge of that. He's got that train running for the last 5 years now, something like that. Last 5 years, and they've been rolling, man. They basically been the cream of the crop of the NFC over the last 5 years. Pretty much making the playoffs every single year. Their defense is not going anywhere. They have the best defense, and they just keep on getting better. They want to trade Javon Curse. Forgot his name already, but they traded Curse, their wide receiver, number 15, to the Jets. And they got Sheldon Rankins, who could be a difference maker for them. They're already stout on defense. What more do you want on defense? So these guys are prepared to just put locks on them. This is my sleeper team. This is my, not sleeper team, because they're not sleeping on anybody, but this is my team that will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I got them playing against the Oakland Raiders for the Super Bowl. And I think, in my opinion, Seattle is the Super Bowl champions this year. I have a feeling that Russell Wilson is going to have the best year of his career. I think Jimmy Graham's going to have the best year of his career, not best year of his career, but a very, very good year for them as well. And I think, Doug Baldwin's going to get better as well. And the defense, I mean, the Legion of Boom. What more can you say about that when you got Cam Chancellor, you got a Richard Sherman, you got all these guys going in, man, and they just murder people. Earl Thomas is a beast. He cannot be stopped. The only problem is their other cornerback. Who's their second cornerback going to be? We have no idea, to be honest. They did draft some guys who can go over there and make a difference, but they really don't need that. They've always had a suspect second corner and have done good because their front seven just comes in and demolishes you every single time. So they smother you, and that makes the Legion of Boom that much better because they have guys who are in the front seven who put pressure on the quarterback. Richard Sherman's, the one knack I had on this offseason for the Seahawks was the Richard Sherman trade talk. Are you seriously going to trade Richard Sherman? They put it out there. I don't know, they were putting their chest out to Richard Sherman saying that you don't run us, we run you. So if we want to, we can trade you. But Richard Sherman, no, I understand it's Richard Sherman. He's like, I don't care. I'm Richard Sherman. Whoever gets me is going to love me. And who you going to replace me with? Nobody. Who you gonna replace me with? Nobody. Anyways, I'm just saying, Richard Sherman is that good. Yes, he stays on one side of the field. Whatever. That's his thing. He loves his one side. But he shuts that one side down. And Seattle, I don't know, they just, the conflict going on between Richard Sherman and the Seahawks organization. I don't know what that's all about. You always hear about these guys beefing with each other. And I kind of like a team that beefs with each other because they get so tired of beefing with each other that when they do play other competition, they're like, you know what, let's go knock these fools' heads off because I'm tired of messing with you. I'm tired of talking about you. I'm tired of chilling with you. All that good stuff. So when they play against another opponent, they go out there and they rack heads. You heard about their practices. They're fierce. They're tough. And they even got penalized for practicing too hard. Yeah, I said that. How you practice too hard? It's just like the Saints getting penalized for hitting too hard. Yeah, I remember that. Bounty Gate. Come on, man. Give me a freaking break. No, that's neither here or there. I'm sorry. I broke the fourth wall for a second. But these guys, they love to hit. They love to be physical. Pete Carroll, he loves that environment. He says, bring it on. That's how he does it. Pete Carroll has won every area he's been in. He's won in USC. He's won in New England when he coached for New England. And he's won in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks. So Pete Carroll's a hell of a coach. He's got these guys where he wants them at. Let's talk about their draft picks. They did not have a first round pick, but they did have a second round pick in Malik McDowell, who's he's the defensive tackle for the Michigan State Spartans, but he's kind of a wild card. He's kind of what can I say? He's just raw. He's raw. He doesn't have any kind of experienced moves or anything. He's a raw guy. But I tell you this, he came to the right place. Seattle, that defense, they're going to raw that man and get him in shape and get him together, because it might not benefit this year, because he might not even get playing time this year. But it will sure help them in the future when guys start to get money and kind of leave. So they'll have someone for the future again. But Malik McDowell, he went to the right situation, so I think that's a good pick with him. Some were saying he was a first-round pick. Some were saying he got what he deserved to be in the second round. Also in that second round, they got Ethan Pochik. Ethan Pochik, the center from LSU. And that is much needed help. He might not play center, but he could play guard. And they needed that was a 1 weak link for Seattle last year, and they fixed it up pretty much towards the end, except for the game against Atlanta, but they just got blown out. But they fixed up their offensive line problem, and that was the problem they really had. They had to get that intact. So I'm glad that they're focusing their attention on the offensive line, and they got that. And Ethan Pochik, so he's going to be great for them, and I think that Seattle just keeps him moving. If you protect Russell Wilson, does he not always find ways to make a big play? That's what he does. That's Russell Wilson. That's all he does is make big plays at the right moments. And in their third pick, they got 4 third-round picks. If y'all didn't see that, that was pretty freaking good. If you get 4 third-round picks, we'll talk about one of those guys, Shaquille Griffin. He's a very big, physical cornerback, some that they wanted, and he might be the guy that's across from Richard Sherman. I mean, man, Griffin it's a big dude, and that's just what Seattle likes. A guy that plays physical, up in your face, bump and run, let's go. And he'll fit right in with that physical nature of the team. So it's almost like a smooth transition when it comes down to Shaquille Griffin. And I like that. Look, they went 10-5-1 last year. I think they had a tie with the Cardinals. This ties just freaking suck, bro. Like, can we just fight each other for a second? Can we get head coach against head coach to fight or something? My head coach can whoop your head coach ass, and then we win, right? But anyway, they went 10-5-1 last year. I think this year they have another spectacular year. They actually start off fresh, stay fresh. I think they go 12-4 this year, and they represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think they get home field advantage. Take care of that, because if in the playoffs, if you're playing in Seattle, you're not winning. You're done. I think they get a home field advantage throughout. I think they go to the Super Bowl, and I think they beat the Oakland Raiders. I said it here first on Uneducated Sports Talk. I promise you guys that I said it. Well, I'm not promising that they're going to the Super Bowl, but I'm saying that's my prediction. So, but we talked about the Houston Texans. We talked about the Seattle Seahawks. We're getting to the really good teams now, and I have both these teams going to the playoffs, and we will see what goes on from there. I'm very excited. So leave your like, comment, subscribe to Uneducated Network, and subscribe to Uneducated Sports Talk, to where you can hear my show on both this and Uneducated Network, and you can hear all kinds of other shows on the Uneducated Network. We have a lot of things going on, a lot more future projects going on, and we're trying to make this so huge, so big. So that being said, like, comment about the Houston Texans or the Seattle Seahawks. What do you think? Are these guys going to the playoffs? Is Seattle going back to the Super Bowl? That's the question I'm asking. Is Seattle going to the Super Bowl? Let me know. So, Uneducated Network presents Uneducated Sports Talk. I am your host, Carlos Clayton. And as always, sports fans, you know what it is. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.